So how do we do it? How do we try to align ourselves with these synchronicities to create life that is more in the flow, where you have less resistance, where you actually are fulfilling your true potential? And we kind of block it through acting rationally because we are conditioned by friends, society, media, religion, movies, entertainment industry, education system, all these different things. He kind of shuts down this rational mind and he tunes into that inner voice, and that allows this life to unfold. So on a subconscious level, he's actually creating these synchronicities in his life. He attracts the right people in the right time. He creates the right opportunities for himself because he follows the inner voice and switches off that rational front end side of him. So meditation is one side of it. The more you clear your mind, the more you tune into your subconscious, to your inner guidance, to your intuition, to your higher self, the more you can start unfolding events in your life that are organic and that are more aligned with your true nature, with your true passions, with your true purpose. Hey guys, this is Mike Sygula from truefear.com, and thank you for checking out this new True Fear podcast episode. And today I want to talk about the concept that I think is extremely important, but most people don't understand it or are not fully aware of it even. So I think the best way to start is by giving you some examples of so you can get the idea. So last year I met with a friend called Giovanni Bartolomeo, who is actually a guest on True Fear podcast. And he's an entrepreneur from Canada, filmmaker. He made this movie called, documentary film called Psyched Out, that talks about healing benefits of psychedelics. But anyway, he told me about this book called Surrender Experiment, which is an autobiography of Michael Singer. So Michael shares his story of how he got into meditation. He was this hippie guy in the 60s studying at the university, and he started meditating, and he really started enjoying how he felt, when he was getting into that state of calmness and where, reduced thought activity. So he started really enjoying meditation, and all he really wanted to do is to meditate as much as possible. But at the same time, he made this decision that he will surrender himself into whatever comes in his life. And this is why the book is called Surrender Experiment. So what happened was that all these different things were happening for him, and it unfolded a completely different path for him than the one that he thought would be the right for him. And he basically created an enormous success for him. He became a renowned meditation teacher. He built a temple, a retreat center. He established a company that became extremely successful. And everything was happening organically. So he was still meditating, he was still doing his things. But these people would keep coming to him, like these opportunities would keep coming to him because he was in the flow. He was kind of living through synchronicities in his life. And so, for example, he decided to build this small wooden hut, this small wooden house in the forest, and all he really wanted to do is to meditate there all the time. And one day, this woman comes around, and she noticed that he was meditating there, and she asked him if she can join. And his rational mind was like, no, I want to, have some time for myself. I don't want anyone to disturb me. But then, because he made this decision that he will surrender himself into whatever comes in his life, he allowed her to join him, and she started meditating with him. And then this whole process unfolded a chain of events that built, turned him into this meditation guru, where he introduced meditation to prisons. He built a temple, and it was just really an amazing journey that built an amazing life for him. So this whole concept that I'm talking about here is that we really have two different ways that we can live. One is that we follow our rational mind, which is programmed by society, by media, by religion, by our parents, by education system. So things that we think are good for us, things that everyone around us tells us that are the right things to do. And then there is this second way of living, where you follow your inner voice, your intuition, and you see what happens. And this is such an important concept. If you look at the first way of living, so as we know, a lot of things in our world, in society, are completely inverted, immoral, and we follow these things because everyone else does so. And very often, just doing whatever society tells us to do is actually creates suffering, misery, unhappiness. You chase money just so you can pay your bills, and you're never fully satisfied. Like all these different things, all these different scenarios that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. So this is one way of living, and very often what society tells us, or education, whatever, conditioning tells us is the right thing to do, is actually makes us even more unhappy. So, like, for example, a friend of mine was telling me that his friend was using law of attraction to manifest well-paid job, and he finally got a job. But what came with it was actually a lot more stress, a lot more responsibilities. They would call him, on the weekends, at night, whatever, things like that. So actually, he got what he thought would be the right thing, but then in the end, it created even more suffering, more unhappiness. So this is an example of how we're conditioned, and often, like, what we get is actually not exactly what we thought we will get. And then the second way of living is to surrender yourself to synchronicities in your life and try to intuitively choose options that are actually more aligned with your true nature. So in a way, we have, there is this part of your mind, and obviously this is a subject for debate. Like, some people call it subconscious, other people call it your spirit, your higher self, your soul, your oversoul, whatever you want to think about it, whichever way you want to think about it. The idea is that you have this part of you that actually knows what's the best way for you to live, what knows maybe the best outcomes, knows what direction to choose. And the rational mind, the front end, is often gonna be guiding you based on conditioning, but this inner side of you, the inner voice, is actually can bring completely different scenario. And sometimes it doesn't look initially as a good opportunity, as something worth doing, but later on you find out that it was the right path. So let me give you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about here. I actually recently interviewed a guy called Werner, who is one of the most recognized yoga teachers in the world. You're gonna be able to watch this interview soon. We're publishing within the next 2-3 weeks. And he was working as a firefighter around 10 years ago. Before he kind of got into yoga, he was already practicing yoga. I think he was doing some kind of part-time teaching. And one day he lost his job, and they fired him. He stayed out of work. He had a mortgage to pay and things like that. And he was devastated. So he felt like, becoming a firefighter was this goal that he had, and suddenly his life flipped upside down, and he felt like, okay, what else I can do? Maybe I can start teaching yoga. And what happened was that he became one of the biggest names in yoga. He has more than 700,000 followers on Instagram now. His workshops and classes are sold out constantly. He travels the world, living the dream, and following his passion. And if this would not happen to him, if he would not be fired, maybe he would still be working as a firefighter and not fulfilling his true potential. So this is what I'm talking about here. Sometimes the universe can rearrange things for us in a way that initially don't look like there are the right choices or a positive occurrences, but in the end, there were the right choices for us. There were the right things. Sometimes, the universe has to push you towards the right direction because your rational mind is making decisions that are not in your best interest because it's conditioned. There's one way to look at things that you think this is the right thing to do, and then there is another thing that is actually what really is the right thing for you to do, which you often don't know. So in this book, Surrender Experiment, Michael was really trying to experiment with this concept and get himself in the flow, and whatever was unfolding, even if it looked as some really negative event in his life, he would still allow it to come. He would still see what comes out of it. And it built an amazing life for him, organic, where he was satisfied, fulfilled, and doing things he really even wasn't even aware of that he was capable of doing. So very often, these things that happen to us are in a way designed for us by the universe. You can think about it, whatever, if you don't like this way of thinking, if you can think about it differently. You can think about it, maybe your subconscious mind, you're guiding you somewhere, or the universe, or your spirit, anything, you can use whatever terminology you like. But very often, it kind of tries to create a life for us, this intuition, this other part of us that will be most aligned with what we are capable of, what we desire, what truly desire, and we kind of block it through acting rationally because we are conditioned by friends, society, media, religion, movies, entertainment industry, education system, all these different things. And it's important to not get tricked into following conditioning and actually following the inner voice, the inner guidance. And so how do we do it? How do we try to align ourselves with these synchronicities to create life that is more in the flow, where you have less resistance, where you actually are fulfilling your true potential? So one key element is to follow your intuition and in clear that intuition. We often have we're not listening to our intuition. There is something that we know deep inside that might be immoral, but everyone else is doing it, so we think like it's justified. Let's do it, and that's a first mistake. You have to follow your intuition, and you need to clear that sense. And you can do it through meditation. So Michael Singer, because he was meditating so much, he kind of shuts down this rational mind and he tunes into that inner voice, and that allows this life to unfold. So on a subconscious level, he's actually creating these synchronicities in his life. He attracts the right people in the right time. He creates the right opportunities for himself because he follows the inner voice and switches off that rational from that side of his. And you can do it by meditating. So the more you meditate, the more you clear your sense of intuition, and the more you can actually get into that state of living in the flow. And so I would say another person that I think follows these principles, to some extent at least, is Yuval Noah Harari, who is the author of a best-selling book called Sapiens. He also wrote two other books that are also big bestsellers. And he's been saying he's been meditating for roughly, I don't remember, 18 years or something, up to 2 hours a day, doing some silent meditation retreats every year. And he believes that this meditation allows him to clear his mind so much that he can actually see things very clearly. And in this way, he can describe his ideas and the concepts in his books in such a way that it just works. It becomes this viral sensation. Even though Sapiens is a popular science book, it still is sold millions of copies. So some subject that is not mainstream is able to become such a popular thing. So he also says that meditation is a big part of his success. So one thing is that you need to learn to meditate. You need to meditate as much as possible. If you want to get into meditation, I've been meditating for 12 years, so I got quite a lot of experience. And I'm doing coaching one-to-one through Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/Truth Theory, you can choose full enlightenment level option there, and we can do some one-to-one sessions if you are interested. But so meditation is one side of it. The more you clear your mind, the more you tune into your subconscious, to your inner guidance, to your intuition, to your higher self, the more you can start unfolding events in your life that are organic and that are more aligned with your true nature, with your true passions, with your true purpose. And The second thing is obviously, every day we have some kind of decisions to make. Some things happen, some information pops up, we meet someone. How do you decide which opportunity to take to be in that flow, to be in the synchronicity? And I think, you have to look at things. How does it feel? Does it feel like a good choice? Does it feel like an ethical choice? Does it make you excited, that decision? Because excitement is an important part. So, you want to try to create things and align with things that make you more excited. And when you are in that state of excitement, you're aligned with the right things. If you are in a state of resistance, a lot of people do things that they hate because for whatever reason they think it's secure for them. They have a job that they hate and every day they fight internally, but it's not what they want to do deep inside. So these are the warning signs. The more you resist, the more you fight, the less you're gonna create that flow and of synchronicities that's gonna be aligned. You're gonna create this distorted version of reality for you. And remember that whatever happens, even if it seems like it's some really sad, negative experience, try to think about it. Maybe it comes for a reason. Maybe there is something bigger. And it's very often the case, Sometimes things that seem like the worst thing that could happen actually later on turn out to be the biggest blessings. So this is an introduction to this concept, and it's more complicated than that. I wanted to give you some idea. I recommend checking out the book Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And as I mentioned, I'm doing one-to-one coaching online as well through Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/truetheory, you can check out our offer there. And if you want to work with this concept, to try to find your purpose, to be more aligned with your true nature, maybe I can help you with that. And thanks for checking out another episode of True Theory Podcast. Till next time. Hey guys, Mike here. Just a quick note. I'm currently offering one-to-one mentoring and coaching through our Patreon page. So as some of you know, I've been interested in personal development for 15 to 17 years. And during this time, I really spent enormous amounts of energy into researching and practicing different techniques. So I'm offering one-to-one video calls through Patreon, and this is really affordable as well. So, some of the things that I can help with are to do with starting an online business, building personal brand, increasing happiness, improving mental and physical health, stress reduction, building confidence and self-esteem, finding your passion, discovering your life purpose, spiritual development and going through spiritual awakening, and many other things. So check it out. It's patreon.com/truetheory. It's patreon.com/truetheory.